JP, good morning to you. And it almost smacks of arrogance, doesn't it, when you have a member of the public taking a swig of brandy as there's a police officer standing outside this person's car window?
Absolutely. I think that that incident left the officers bewildered enough that they felt they needed to say something about it. You know, it's not often that the officers will record the specific circumstances around an incident like that. But I think that they're experiencing more and more of that kind of behavior. The criminal justice system has become very frail. And so where the officers do give fines, it is very often that it is difficult to get people to pay those fines. And when you then eventually arrest them for the contempt of court for non-payment, there aren't always consequences. And I've just returned now. I'm still in the vehicle on the way back from our operation in Yanga this morning, where we were trying to protect the Golden Arrow buses from attack. Because since Thursday, Friday, and again yesterday, the minibus taxis were attacking these private, these buses. This morning we had a large operation there to try and protect the buses. And while we were doing it, some of these taxi operators then went around torching vehicles as an attempt to destabilize the environment. So I really think we are in a situation where we need much more effective legislation, and we need the criminal justice system really to take these offences very seriously.
JP, I'm going to come back to you on the issue you were just talking about with taxis and the torching of buses. Thanks for letting me know about that. I just want to just go back to the issue of courts and the harsher punishment of people who are caught drunk driving, not appearing in courts. What are you hoping the courts will do? What are you hoping is going to change between what they do now and what you're looking for?
Look, a big part of the challenge is simply the capacity of the prosecutors and the courts. It's the level of resources available to these courts is not as it should be. And in fact, with the so-called traffic courts, which are run by national government, not by the city or the province, those resources haven't meaningfully increased since 2001, 2002. And so we're in a very challenging situation where it doesn't help if you actually write more fines and nothing happens. So we are hoping for tougher legislation from national government in terms of the Road Traffic Act and the National Land Transportation Act. But in the meantime, we're also working with our provincial government to get the new Provincial Traffic Act regulations out. The new MEC Dale and Mitchell is on it, and we're hoping that soon we will see some far more effective regulations that will, for some offences where we previously had to issue a fine, will allow us to impound a vehicle, because that's the most effective conduct in terms of holding somebody accountable, especially as a public transport operator.
I'm sure also for members of for private citizens as well, with private vehicles, take away your car. It's amazing how quickly people will start complying. JP, quickly speak to me about the issue you were talking about a moment ago. If I heard you correctly, saying you're on your way back from Langa, taxi drivers torching vehicles. Just tell me what's happening there and what you're doing about it.
Last week in Yanga, I think it started on Thursday morning, there were attacks on Golden Arrow buses with the taxi drivers intimidating passengers and trying to push them into the taxis, threatening the buses, stoning the buses. That then escalated over that day when the police responded. There were protests by some of the taxis, about 100 of their members. On Friday morning, that intensified with the burning on buses. Monday, again, a similar event. Yesterday, we had resources on scene from 5 a.m. So they then instead started focusing on vehicles driving around the broader Nyanga area. And this morning, we had significant resources out from traffic law enforcement, Metro Police, and SAPS to try and protect those buses. The bus loading zone was moved to a different area next to the N2. And as a consequence, these Avanzas then went around torching private vehicles. 5 private vehicles, 2 city vehicles this morning. So I've reached out to MEC Dale and Mitchell and said, look, you have to invoke your maximum regulatory authority here. We have to then close some of these routes and ensure that we proceed to significant impoundment of these operators. It cannot be that through violence and intimidation you can seize control of roads and otherwise. The public already complained extensively to us about how minibus taxis conduct themselves on the roads. And we have now tried our best, either through fines or we're doing about 800 plus impoundments a month to try and bring some kind of order. But we will need more effective legislation. And in this case, I think we need quite a dire intervention.
All right, thanks for letting us know. I heard Langa, but quite correctly, Nyanga is what JP Smith is talking about, raising the issue of taxis at the moment, torching private vehicles and public vehicles, but also speaking to us about harsher penalties for drivers caught breaking the laws.